Hello, Smoky Valley staff. KSDE provides a number of resources for teachers and others interested in developing capacity to understand the learning standards that are a part of the Kansas College and Career Ready framework. I'd like to share with you today a resource that you might find useful as you work to improve the rigor and the relevance of your instructional design and lesson planning. KSDE hosts a website called the Kansas Assessment Program. You're seeing the homepage of that site right now, and the URL is www.ksassessments.org. We'll be working specifically with the material under the Content tab that is at the top of the page. The 4 academic areas highlighted correspond to the required assessments that we give in Kansas. I'm going to select English Language Arts for our purposes today, but you will see that for ELA, Math, and Science, the screen layout and the links that you can select are the same as the ELA version we'll look at today. For those of you working in the Social Studies area, you will note that there is a different format and the site doesn't have the same content available, but there is still some valuable information there for our Social Studies teachers, and I do encourage you to review it. My primary reason for sharing this site with you is to suggest that this material could be used in PLC teaming meetings or individually. Working with your grade level and content peers in reviewing the resources here would make for some very rich and in-depth professional dialogue. I'd like to quickly show you some examples of what that might look like. I'm going to start by clicking on the link called Content Emphasis for ELA. When I click on this link, you will see a brief narrative outlining some background knowledge about how test developers use learning standards to create reliable, valid assessments. There are references to targets, claims, depth of knowledge categories, and the like. Don't be too concerned about your familiarity with these technical terms. The information we can use to design local instruction and assessments is found in the rest of this document, and it should be accessible to you once you take a few minutes to orient yourself to the material. Our purpose in using this document as a PLC conversation starter is to look at the target statements that start a few pages further into the document. Reviewing and discussing these statements with your colleagues and analyzing the degree to which your instructional design mirrors these learning targets can be instructive. For example, as a team, we might look at the chart on page 2 that is shown on the screen right now and cross-reference the target statements to actual amounts of instructional time and emphasis in each of our ELA classrooms. We might ask, given that the targets are categorized by emphasis, such as high, medium, and low, how does this align to actual learning experiences in my classroom? Do I tend to overemphasize some targets that have been deemed to have a lower relative emphasis? What might I or my team do to get better aligned in our instructional design? At that point, the team might continue into the document and review the specific language of some targets to confirm that instructional categories and activities match up with these targets. What you're seeing on the screen here is for grade 3 and claim 1, which is the reading claim, and some of the target statements that reflect what's expected for third graders at the end of the third grade year when they take the state assessment for reading. Perhaps assignments, assessments, projects, or writing tasks can be reviewed by the team to confirm alignment. The next link on the website will provide a document that might assist with this effort. We're back at the main page of the Kansas Assessment Program under Language Arts. We're going to now take a look at this link called Item Specifications for ELA. Again, I want to emphasize, if you're looking at mathematics or science, you're going to see very similar kinds of documents, very similar language, and the structure of the documents should all look the same. Now, this is a fairly lengthy document, but once you see the way it is structured, you'll notice that they've matched those claims from the last document we were just looking at with some evidence statements to help give context to each learning standard. For example, as you can see in grade 3, claim 1 of reading, under target 1, there's a target statement referencing key details that a student needs to be able to identify text evidence and support that with inference or conclusions. And along with this now is a statement of evidence required. So you can think of this as a situation where, as a test writer, those people that are creating the assessments, the questions on the assessments, this is what they're using to actually develop and design test questions that are used. As an instructor in a classroom, you're looking at this from a perspective of what kind of experiences and activities should I be creating to help a student be able to do this, and then do I ask them to do tasks that actually perform this activity? Do they do assignments? Do they complete quizzes and tests and other task-oriented projects that actually practice and work on this particular skill? So this particular document is set up very consistently this way, with a target statement and then an evidence statement followed by the actual ELA standard that this references. Going back to our main page again, we want to show that there's a third link called Reading and Writing Resources. When you click on this particular link, this is a direct link back to the KSDE state learning outcomes pages, and in this case, of course, the ELA. But it will allow you to go directly to the location on the KSDE website where you can take a look at standards and review very specific things in that area. Finally, there is a listing of performance level descriptors. These align, of course, only to the grade levels where there is an actual state assessment. That's why you don't see all K through 12th grade levels listed here. The value of these grade level documents is that the rigor piece is added. I'll go ahead and open up the grade 3 one so you can see what I'm talking about. Now we're seeing the level to which a student should be able to perform in order to achieve a level 2, 3, or 4 on the state assessment. As an individual teacher, this document can be helpful as you reflect on the type of instruction and the level of performance that you expect from your kids. Of course, we aspire to teach and have kids perform at a level 4, as shown on these rubrics, but having the proficiency levels laid out in this format is helpful when planning for the wide range of student abilities in your classroom. It gives you an ability to see what the differences are, at least on the state assessment, between a student who can perform at a level 2 versus a level 4. Again, this website could be the basis for some good professional discussion in your PLC, your teaming meetings, or even as a resource for you personally as you monitor your instructional design efforts on a regular basis. I do also want to point out that KSDE just released to the public the most recent adoption of Kansas math standards. And as a result, there will be a point in time in the near future, probably about a year from now, when the materials on this page will be edited to reflect the adjustments made in the newer standards. For those of you that have specific responsibilities in teaching mathematics, this is a kind of a 0 year this year for mathematics standards review. KSDE has published those standards. They're giving us a year to become familiar with them. Maybe take a look at the alignment to our actual instructional practices and assessments that we're giving right now locally. That'll give us another year then to implement any modifications or changes that we might want to make locally. And I don't believe it's until the 2019 school year before we will see some actual significant changes to the Kansas math assessment. Also, as an FYI, the state is also currently in process with modifications and changes to the ELA standards. And those are currently in process, and probably about a year from now we'll see some adoption of different standards there. This is nothing new. KSDE routinely goes through curriculum review and adoption processes. We're just in that cycle year now for math to be finished and ELA to be well on its way. And so these are all just very typical processes that happen at the state level on a regular basis. As a wrap-up, I hope you and your teams find this particular website helpful. I'm sure would appreciate being able to help you if needed to get more information or further resources if your team starts working with this information and you find it useful and would like to continue to learn more. So just get in touch with me. Thank you.